Future Mr. Francy, just popping in here quickly to let you know that with my last review, I am going to be reviewing these two books on separate days. So we're going to go back to Past Mr. Francy first, and you can watch that review, and then we'll come back here to present day for my next one. And then, if you can hold out to the end of the video, I'm going to talk to you guys about something that has a special place in my heart. Lucky in Love by Casey West. This is a YA romance book. We follow Maddie, who is about to turn 18. On her 18th birthday, she buys herself a lottery ticket as her way to enter adulthood. Turns out that lottery ticket is the big winner, and she wins $50 million. But how is this going to change her life? How will it affect her? And more importantly, how is it going to affect the people around her? I loved this book. I love Casey West. I read this book, P.S. I Like You, in September last year and gave it I think a 4-star rating, And I have been wanting to continue on with Casey West's work ever since, but it's taken me all this time to get there. I finally got there with Lucky in Love, and it did not let me down. But there were some little things here and there that did let me down, so let's discuss them. A rough start. Okay, so it seems that this is just kind of a thing with me and romance books. In case you weren't aware, P.S. I Like You was the only romance book I read in 2020, so I have a goal to read 6 straight romance books in 2021. For those of you who love the LGBTIQ+ stuff, so do I. I want to read 12 of those, so there you go. But I have a goal to read 6 of these so that I can get more experience with the romance genre in general. And one thing that all of these straight romance books that I've read so far seem to have in common with me is rough starts. It takes me a long time to get invested in the characters and the plot. So I just think this is something that I need to get used to. The lack of communication trope. Okay. I'm not a fan of this. Now, for those of you wondering what the lack of communication trope is, it's pretty much as the trope title suggests it is. It is a situation where, for whatever reason, one character is holding on to some information and they're just not feeding that information to another character for whatever reason that they think is the right reason to do so. And that was definitely the case with this book. Our protagonist ends up holding on to a secret that she has for reasons. I don't want to spoil the book, but for reasons that to me just did not make any sense. And the more we went along and the more that our protagonist was not discussing the thing, the more I was thinking, just say it, just do it, because not only was she not discussing it, but we got a bunch of internal monologue of, and here's a great chance for me to tell him, but I'm not going to tell him, because if I tell him, then this and this is going to happen, so I can't tell him, and it's like, dude, just tell him. A moment where a lesson could have been learned being missed. So, we have a situation with a side character here. I need to stress I'm talking about the side, a side character. We have a side character who makes some mistakes, let's put it that way. And the mistakes kind of come to the forefront towards the end of the book, so it is a spoiler, so therefore I can't say what it is, but they make a mistake, and the mistake is found out. There was no redemption for this character. I don't see why we couldn't just have that time to give this character their redemption. But there definitely were some pros to this book, which is why it did end up getting 4 stars, so let's talk about them, shall we? And my first one is a great friendship trope. I love really good friendships more than I love romances. I love the friendships that our protagonist Maddie has. Her friends are so amazing. A humble protagonist. Scratch that. The single most humble protagonist I have ever read. Maddie appreciates so many things. She has a lot of love for her family, who are certainly not well off financially at all. In fact, they're in a bit of financial trouble at the beginning of the book. She has a love for her friends. She would be willing to go to the ends of the earth for them. She has a voluntary job that she works at because she has a passion for what she is doing in that voluntary job. She just appreciates life. She's also a very hard worker, and she's the only protagonist I've ever come across who appreciates that high school is about hard work, dedication, and commitment to your studies so that you can further improve your life by going off to college or university. She's just such a humble, appreciative character, and a lot of people could learn a lot about humility from her. So I really, really, really appreciated that. And finally, this book shows how money changes people around you in the best way that I've read so far. Not only did Casey West explore what it was like for our protagonist to come into such a substantial amount of money, $50 million, but also we get to see the good and the bad of those around Maddie and how they've reacted to her win. 4 stars. Date Me, Bryson Keller by Kevin Van Wy. This book, you guys, I promised myself I wouldn't cry. This book is so good. I love this book for so many reasons, and we are going to keep it spoiler-free, but this may be a bit more of a ranting spoiler-free video because I have no notes on me. I didn't want notes on me. I just wanted to talk about how I felt in the moment. So, yeah. We're following a boy whose name is Kai, who is a high schooler, and the book opens up with these high schoolers being at a party, and the most popular guy at the high school is there at the party. His name is Bryson Keller, and Bryson is dared to do something. He is dared by one of his jock buddies to date anyone who asks him for a week. And Kai ends up asking Bryson Keller out as a joke. And because Bryson Keller is a stickler for the dare, he ends up saying, okay, let's do this. And so they end up dating for the week. There's really not a lot I can say about this book without giving away spoilers, which is, so annoying. This is an Own Voices LGBTIQ+ YA book. So Kevin Van Wy grew up as a gay man, and he wanted to see more male romances appearing in some type of fiction medium, whether it be books or TV or films or anything like that. And for him growing up, he was only ever able to see heterosexual love being displayed between a white man and a white woman, and this was something that really got to him. There were gay characters that he was able to witness in fiction growing up, but they were usually always the comic relief side character. So he set about with the express purpose to write a book where we have one gay character who is of mixed race dating another guy, and that dating is happening at the forefront of the book. This was so unputdownable, you guys. If you want to read an LGBTIQ+ book this year, I've recommended many. But I'm going to start off the second half of the year saying, make sure it's this one. This book, it was just such a good read. It was so, as I say, unputdownable. I read this book over the course of 2 days. And trust me, the only reason it was 2 days was because I had to put it down at the end of day 1. There were things I had to do. If there weren't things I had to do, this would have been easily read in 1 day. The plot just was so captivating. The characters were so captivating. How do I say this in a spoiler-free way? The plot for the first 3 quarters is really, really beautiful. And one thing I'm going to kind of liken it to is a straight romance book. I very much felt like I was reading a straight romance book, like some of the ones I've read so far this year, but just with two guys. And that just worked so well for me, because every single LGBTIQ plus book that I've picked up since last year, there's always had to be some issue or another going on in the book, and the focus wasn't necessarily on the love, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But this month, I am getting so completely over romance, because it's literally all I've been reading all month is romance, 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 romance. But to be able to go from these straight romance books that I've been reading this month into this one, I really appreciated that Kevin Van Wy wrote a romance book. This is not a contemporary. If we are going to get technical, it's an LGBTIQ plus romance, not an LGBTIQ plus contemporary. And I just really appreciated that. Now, be warned, at the 3/4 mark, some things happen that cause a little bit of chaos, so we do deal with some things during the final climax. But all I can say in a spoiler-free way is, until we get to that climax, it is just a beautiful ride. And I absolutely loved it. Don't get me wrong, the climax was really good too. I think it was really well executed. You can tell its own voices, because Kevin Van Wy did everything he could to keep his fictional work as realistically human as he possibly could, and I really appreciated that. But I just love this book, and I highly, highly, highly recommend it. This has got to be, we've entered the second half of the year, so I can say it that way. This has got to be my favourite LGBTIQ plus book for the second half of 2021 so far. It's right up there though. And I even think it's better than some Adam Silvera's, as much as I should not be saying that. Ooh. 5 stars, highly recommend. If you're going to read an LGBTIQ plus book this year, make sure it's this one, and let me know how you felt about it, because it was amazing. And now I'm going to quickly talk to you about that something little bit of extra specialness for today's reviews. I did say if you stuck it out to the end of the video, then we'll do something special. Here we are. Thank you for making it this far. And if you have made it this far, then please leave a flower and a love heart in the comments section. About a week ago, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, I was watching and listening to a booktuber review a book series in a spoiler-free way. I'm going to put an image of that somewhere up on the screen. A Silent Voice. This booktuber explained the premise, and from the moment this booktuber explained the premise to me, I have not been able to get this series out of my mind, to the point that I actually put it on my wish list to read it next year. But the more the days went on, and the more I just couldn't stop thinking about the premise of this series, the more I thought, no, dash it all, I'm going to read it next month. So I did some research, and I found out it is available as a physical book. Yay. And so I can get it. Yay. And it's a manga. But I'm not good with mangas. No. Now, I'm currently reading the White Sands series by Brandon Sanderson, which is part of the Cosmere timeline. I have a goal to read all the Cosmere books this year. The only way I'm getting through that series was consuming the graphic audio book adaptation, because I just have so much trouble reading manga and graphic novels. I really do. So I went from, oh my god, I need to read A Silent Voice, to, it's manga. But then I went over to the Discord of this booktuber, and in the manga section of their Discord, I actually spoke about A Silent Voice with the others who were in the manga section, and said to them, I really want to read this book because I feel like it's going to be an amazing read, but I just can't read manga. Do you know if there's a way that I can consume it otherwise? It turns out there is a text-only version of the book, but it's not in English. There also was not an audiobook, so that was unfortunate, and it ended up being a no-go for me, until someone said to me, you do know that it's a movie. And you do know that the movie covers most of what's in the series, and you also know that once you watch the movie, we can fill you in on everything else that you missed from the series, which really isn't a lot. I was like, oh my god, and consumed this 2-hour film like 5 minutes after we had this conversation. I've just come off finishing watching this, and it was so, so, so good. So the premise of this series, the film, as which there's just one film that covers the entire series, and the manga set itself, is that we are following two characters by the names of Shoya and Shoku. Shoya is an elementary, or if you're Australian, primary school kid. One day in class, there is a new girl who comes in, and when it's time for her to introduce herself, she takes out a notebook and writes her name in the notebook and says that she wants everyone to communicate with her through this notebook. So she'll write on there and people can write back to her. Then she reveals the reason why she wants to use the notebook is because she is deaf. Shoya, I need to keep looking down the names because I keep forgetting them. Shoya, the boy, treats her horribly. And I knew this because of the premise, but now after seeing the film, I can confirm it. He treats her horribly. Inexcusably horribly. And the remainder of the series allows for their characters to evolve. If deaf representation in literature means as much to you as it does to me, I highly recommend reading this series, or if you can't read manga like myself, then watching the film. That this series and the film is so much deeper than the premise that I've given you. But if I give you too much, it becomes a spoiler. So anyway, I did not officially read it because there was no option for me to read it because I can't read manga. So I consumed it as a movie, which is why I'm talking about it here, because I can't really add it to my books read this year because I didn't read it as a book. If you do end up giving A Silent Voice a go, or if you have given it a go and you want to talk to me about it, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to further continue this conversation with you. But in the meantime, that is where I am going to leave it, letting you guys go with peace, blessings, and so much love. I post videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I'll see you again soon. Mwah! Thank you so much for watching, and happy reading!